Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The issue that we are discussing is an historical issue. Let me bring to bear the effects of the doctrine of discovery, the possession or occupation of lands and territories of indigenous peoples, in particular the region I'm from. We cannot discuss the effects or negative effects of business on indigenous peoples now if we do not juxtapose it to the effects or the negative impacts on indigenous peoples from 1492. I want to be very clear on this. It's imperative that we look at the issue from an historical position. If we neglect the 500 plus years of plundering, dispossession, extermination, genocide, if we remove it out of the equation, then we are glossing, we are just sweeping the dust under the carpet, under the mat. It is imperative that we understand that particular issue. 1492, through architects of the discovery, doctrine of discovery, and the perpetuators, and the beneficiaries now, continue to do the very same thing. Let me just explain it this way. When the occupiers, the colonial occupiers, came into the Caribbean, and let me refer, I'll leave it for the Caribbean, on the West, because it's specific in the doctrine of discovery that a particular country should have gone west of the Azores and another country would have gone east of the Azores. The doctrine of discovery cut the world in two and had given two powers at the time, colonial powers, the right to occupy. It is important that we look at this. If we look very closely at the effects of the doctrine of discovery, then we would understand why business enterprises, multinational corporations, who themselves are the modern-day beneficiaries of slavery, continue to perpetuate such activities, unsavory activities, on indigenous peoples. We are suffering today, and I am one of the victims as well. We are suffering today, indigenous peoples on the whole, because of the bad policies that were created by the architects and the perpetuators of the doctrine of discovery. We need to learn more and understand more about this, that in this modern time, when we keep on talking about the negative impact of multinational corporations, occupation, and plundering, we need to understand that when the Europeans came in, they clean off our forests, destroy our forest cover in the name of planting indigo, thereafter tobacco, and then cane, then bananas, and other crops. They left the land barren. So we can link it with the environmental situation in most of indigenous people's lands and territories today. It is something that we have to look very closely at, not just speak about it, but consider the damaging impacts, as one of the speakers just mentioned, not just the environmental impact, the societal impact, the cultural impact, the migration of indigenous peoples, or the forced migration of indigenous peoples from certain territories and lands where they were accustomed to, And let me use an illustration here. An artist can best perform in his room, where he's accustomed, where he gets his inspiration from. When the indigenous peoples were removed from their lands, territories that they were accustomed to, that affected the family structure, and also it would have affected the cultural structure as well. So we are suffering from 500 plus years, and today we are still talking about the impacts. We should be talking about the solutions to those impacts. I would put it that we give serious consideration to how best we can, as indigenous peoples worldwide, with the population that we have. We do have hundreds of millions of indigenous peoples around the world. Why can't we, as a solid group, probably the third largest grouping of peoples on earth, or the third largest population after India, China and India and indigenous peoples, why is it that we are not using the leverage that we have to bring about effective changes, personal changes, territorial changes? If states are refusing to dialogue, multinational corporations are continuing to do what they want to do, and we're still begging states to introduce legislation to protect us, then we need to look at this in a very serious way. It's a pity that we continue to suffer. I want our friends in this room to understand. I'm speaking as a victim of the wrongness that has been created or impacted upon indigenous peoples worldwide. You need to understand that. Please, colonist states, put yourself in the shoes of indigenous peoples. Then you will understand exactly when, with passion, our brothers and sisters in this room relate to the negative impacts of multinational corporations, the environmental impact, the negative impact, then you would understand exactly where we're coming from. We know that you are our friends. I am appealing to the states in this August body on the 21st of July, 2015, to understand and to be cognizant of what I'm saying. We cannot continue repeating ourselves. Please give us the space that we are asking for. Understand us, dialogue with us, and come to a concrete and solid solution to the problem, because it's a vexing problem for indigenous people. Thank you.